Hey, we're live, so welcome to our Lock and Load show. On August 11th, Donald Trump, President of the United States, tweeted that military solutions are now fully in place and America is locked and loaded.
There we go.
Has he been reading your tweets again?
I don't know, but I forgot to turn off the volume on the external YouTube. Okay, I got to turn down again. So I don't know, but basically on August 9th, he did say that he did have his fire and fury comment about North Korea. I can scroll down to that one. I did this last week's show on August 8th, I believe, and here on August 9th, let's see, is it, yeah, right after this. President Trump vows America will respond to North Korea threats with fire and fury in a warning to the rogue nation. And that was like, you know, like about 6 or 7 hours after my show, where I said we should drop the bomb on North Korea. And so, of course, this Sunday, Google demonetized last week's show for saying what the president said just a few hours later. But I did want to say that Google fired some guy for one of their employees. They had asked everybody at Google to write a memo on gender diversity, and all this guy basically wrote in his memo was that men and women are biologically different, and so they fired him for gender stereotyping. And they basically told him, they called him up, said, you're fired for gender stereotyping, and you have security will escort you out of the building. I'm just here to talk to you about getting your stuff back to you. We'll mail your stuff back to you from the office. The security's going to escort you out. And that's basically all he did was send a memo saying men are different from women, you know, biologically. I mean, where's the, you know, then there was you know, his comment went viral, I guess, and everybody in the Google office, you know, started calling him names and feigning outrage, you know.
Okay, so I have an anatomy book right here, and I don't see other in a category. It's either male or female, you know. I mean, I know that there are rare instances where people are born with both kinds of genitalia, and I know that there are people that are in the process of changing from one to the other, but to me, they're still male. If you check their hormones, their blood, it's going to say male. Their bone structure is going to be male, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the strangest thing to get fired for, you know?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I think he got a job offer from WikiLeaks, did he not?
Yeah. Wasn't that in response to, like, secret sexual harassment training? Didn't he write the letter because of that?
No, Google asked all of their employees at the main office to write a memo on gender inclusivity or something, or gender diversity and gender diversity. They told him to write a memo, and they didn't like it. But what they didn't like wasn't the memo. They didn't even read it until there was this big social media firestorm, you know, till his memo went viral, and then they just fired him. So it's like, but you know, they're basically, Google is like controlling reality, because for there to be a reality, you have to perceive it, right? First, for there to be a reality, and Google controls what people perceive. They demonetize your video, they'll take it out of your videos won't show up at their search engines, you know, and so you don't exist if Google, you know, does all that to you. And so basically, you know, is Google at this point just a utility that with the thought police is just run amok, you know?
Well, and what it is there's just this insane notion that words are weapons. And yes, words can be weapons, but it's not a true physical weapon, and they've made it out to be that way. And it's the whole political correctness thing gone completely crazily awry, like it was intended to do.
It's Orwellian.
And now, yeah, I mean, now you can't even. It's kind of like the Fahrenheit. What was it? 7.
I never saw. I don't watch that guy's movies, but you know.
It's just nuts. It was a book, but yeah, I mean, it's like, how dare you? You know, everybody's supposed to be peace, love, and all that good stuff.
It's not about peace and love. It's about, you know, saying that all people are exactly the same.
All inclusive, except for those that don't agree with them. And how dare you agree with them? If you agree with them, then you're a Nazi loving.
I know what Nazis are. You know, I'm a grandson of.
You know?
I'm the grandson of Holocaust survivors. I know what Nazis are. People who think that, you know, everybody is different, or there's a difference between biological difference between men and women, aren't Nazis. You know,
you're white, so you got to be a racist.
I never knew when I was a kid and I went to elementary school and they had those boxes to check what race you were. I never knew what to check because they never had a box for Jewish, you know, and so I didn't know what to check. And so I found the whole forms. And when I went to do the hunting license thing, to take the hunter's education course, you get a hunting license in the state of Hawaii, and you can carry a gun, a rifle on the state hunting lands. And then, you know, at the end, they wanted to ask people a bunch of questions based on what race they were. And he says, I'll ask you these questions unless anybody objects. And I said, I'm the only one that stood up and said, yeah, I don't want to answer any questions based upon what race I am or anybody is. And those said, okay, forget this. And you know, they moved on to something else. But it's just, you know, anyway, so I don't know how we're going to go from Donald Trump, you know, basically telling, you know, basically saying what I said in my show last Monday, and then Google demonetizing me for it, you know. So it's like, if the president
monetize you for mentioning the word gun. So, I mean.
Well, I've mentioned the word gun on other shows that they haven't demonetized, and I don't care about the 3 cents that I would have made from last week's show, but it's more like the principle of not showing up in any search engines or anything, but, you know, whatever.
Well, it's the point that they're
guns are offensive.
They're censoring. It's a censorship thing, and it's only certain groups that they're censoring. So, it's to me.
Well, did they censor me because I had a gun in the show, or was it because I said we should drop the bomb on North Korea like 5 hours before the president said that?
Did you show the gun? Because in my chats where they showed, some friends of mine showed a gun. Yeah, they demonetized.
I've shown guns on lots of my videos that are still monetized.
What if CNN does an anti-gun segment and the tag of their video shows a gun, and then they inadvertently get demonetized CNN because they showed a gun in one of their anti-gun videos?
Oh, they're gonna do that.
Here's a gun. Demonetize me, okay? You know,
YouTube probably has a deal that says, "Oh, all of this from every post from CNN is fine as long as it's somebody that promotes their agenda." It's probably
nobody watches CNN anymore, and that's the point. Everybody gets their news from the internet, and Google controls the freaking internet. You know.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem. You know. It's like I don't know if we should regulate Google or disband it.
No more regulations. I don't want any more regulations. I just want
antitrust. Break it up with an antitrust lawsuit. You know, I mean, break it up.
One of the biggest companies in the nation, corporations. Google must be lining so many people's pockets, dude. It's so corrupt by now. There's no way to fix it.
Yeah, but everybody piles into the FANGs, which is basically that's what's keeping like the NASDAQ afloat. The FANGs are Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix,
YouTube.
and Google.
Microsoft.
And well, that's those are the FANGs are the stocks that everybody piles into, and that's what's keeping the whole index up. Like the rest of the Nasdaq ain't doing anything, but everybody just piles into the FANGs because they keep going up. It's like right now everybody's piling into Bitcoin because it's like almost 4,400. It's going straight up, and eventually, they'll pile out of it, and I don't know. But all I wanted to say is that I think since America was founded, with regard to North Korea, we basically, the whole concept of the country, called America, the United States of America, has been based on toppling tyrants. And to us, King George was a tyrant. And so, when we see another tyrant, especially a tyrant with, intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads that just threatening to nuke us, I would personally I like America, and I don't want to see one of those nukes drop on some American city. So I'm not opposed to a preemptive strike myself, because I would rather, have the war have whatever war is going to happen in Korea, if it's inevitable, than, like have nukes going off, in America, So, and I think that's the responsibility of the president, and it's nice to have a president that knows that,
Yeah, but sadly,
no nuclear
a lot
war.
of political, puzzle pieces that have to play into effect there. We can lose allies over things like that. And there's all kind, that's what's so frustrating. But then again, if Trump just goes around and does whatever he wants, he's no better than the other tyrants. You know what I mean? It needs to be a consensus of the people, I feel. But
well, basically, it's like the problem in Venezuela. The people don't care anymore. All they want is food, and they can't get any from their government. I mean, literally, no food. They're starving, right? So what is more basic than, the Cubans and, the Maduro said, you should invade us, United States, because we're not alone. Yeah, they've got 15,000 Cubans that are paid there to, support his, little dictatorship. People say, what right does America have to intervene? It's the divine right of America to topple tyrants, and that's all we've been doing. If and it started with King George, and it's kind of a revolutionary thing to get rid of tyrants and dictators, but that's kind of what America's been all about. And whatever mistakes America's made, I'm willing to do. If I was as the president, the president should do whatever he has to do to keep a nuke from dropping somewhere in America.
absolutely.
And if that includes, taking out, North Korea, then, I'll support the president, I did want to say a couple other things real quick. This weekend I watched the final series finale of Churn, Washington Spies. And where's the quote that I really loved? Washington's last line in the movie. I don't know if he actually said this, but he said in the series, his last line was, because his Churn is about Washington's spies, okay, during the Revolutionary War, and he said, "Our country owes its life to heroes whose names we'll never know." And it was that's just too many people, fought for this country to let some little tin pot dictator in North Korea drop a nuke on it, So I'm perfectly willing to push the button, and I think the president should be too, and if YouTube wants to demonetize me for saying that, so be it, but it'd be nice if everybody was, just all got along, but really the people in North Korea don't have a say in anything. They're just, starving, and if they catch a rat for dinner, that's a good day. I mean, what a country. And I don't want anybody, that little dictator, dropping a nuke on us. And if he fires something too close to Guam, what I say on the show, I don't know if Trump listens to me or not, but maybe he should, you know. But it's not up to me. I don't have a nuclear weapon, so you know the FBI. all I've got is a Glock
Let's hope
17
not.
and a Tavor, you know.
Maybe
And,
you're psychically connected to Trump. Maybe that's it.
Oh, hell. Then that means Trump will switch the U.S. economy over to Bitcoin.
well, you know, you can. I've been trying to get away with, you know, not like constantly talking about Bitcoin, but half the people on gun channels want me to talk about Bitcoin, and the other half want me to shut the fuck up about Bitcoin. So, Squid, talk. Somebody else, please.
Okay, well, I can tell you that we had a little event last week. Dusty's not here tonight. Let's see. Do I see him out there in the chat? No, I don't. So 4 of us from Gun Channels all met at Dusty's farm. It's in Coldwater, Michigan. He's got a couple hundred acres of corn out there and his own private shooting range. So it was Ohio 45 ACP and Smeggy and Dusty and myself, and we all met up there and spent the day shooting.
How many acres of corn?
I think he's got like 200 acres of corn.
That's a lot of acres.
So I've got a couple of pictures if you want me to screen share. Otherwise, it's...
Please. I want to see this farm where all the hedgehogs are going to be.
Yes. I can tell you, we had to go into the pole barn to fix my rifle, and yeah, he's got enough stuff. We could probably make hedgehogs, but he doesn't need them out there. I'm telling you, he's so far away from anything.
All right, screen share. Screen share. I have you on present.
Here you go.
Screen share these pictures.
All right. Let's see here. Open with something or other. All right, and go to screen share somewhere in here. Yep, there we go. Okay, can you see the target?
Yeah, it's a master target and a picture of a fox, it looks like.
So you can see. Okay, let me scroll forward. Here's another target. Here's his chronograph. It's the first time I ever used a chronograph, and for those who don't know, you fire through these metal uprights on the chronograph, and it measures the speed of the bullet, and you can use it to test factory ammunition versus reloads or different ones. We tested 22 Magnum versus 17 HMR. 17 HMR was 404 feet per second faster. Testing a couple of my reloads, and let's see, this is a really bad view of it. I'll have a better view, but this gives an idea of the range. So we have these steel targets that are set up over here. Some of them are a little bit hard to see. There's one over here next to the paper target.
Is that the washing machine that was on the back of your
Yeah, that's the dryer. Yep, that we just shot that thing to pieces. You can see we had fun with it. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
And okay, now what's really funny is Dusty comes by with his tractor. He's got a front end loader on his tractor, and he had the forklift forks on there. He picks a thing up, he goes over to the pole barn, and he dumps it in a trailer with 2 other dryers. So, this will be going to the scrapyard in Ohio. So here's a better view of it. So here's the edge of his field, and then you can see we've got this path, and you can't really see too well. There's a steel target there. We've got a steel target here. There's a steel target here and a paper target here. And we set up some different targets and tried a couple different things. We propped some paper targets up against the steel target. There were actually 2 steel targets here, but you can't even see the second one. It was a little bit shaded. It was a little bit hard to see some of the targets, but we had a pretty good time. Ohio 45 ACP brought up the steel targets for us, and that was really cool. It's the first time I shot steel. That was really neat. So we had an assortment of firearms. This is only just a few of them that we had. You see he's got a shooting table, and we were just putting out the pistols and setting up the targets and just having a blast. We all just took turns shooting and talking. Here's more of his field. One of his field. He's got 2 fields. Here's his
corn.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's all corn.
Okay. He said he also grows soybeans.
These, you know what? These are tall enough that they are probably soybeans. It's been a long time since I've seen them. Used to grow them in a field across the street from you when I was a kid, but they're not. They don't look tall enough to even be. Unless he planted the corn really late, I think it could be soybeans. I didn't really ask him. So here's his chronograph. You can see these metal uprights, and there's a top piece here. So you got an upright in the front, upright in the back, and the bullet flies between it, and it measures the speed of the bullet. Well, I shot his chronograph right off the bat and broke it. So he had yeah, I know, with his rifle too. And so then he had to
his rifle. Yeah. Was this your rifle? It's bad.
Yeah, so I shot it and broke it. So he had to fashion a new piece, and we fixed it. And then I proceeded to shoot it again with my rifle. So yeah, so you read an error. But on this display, it'll read feet per second for whatever's traveling through there. And at one point, Smeggy managed to fix it with this twig. He put the twig in there instead of the metal upright. I shot through it. Believe it or not, it read the speed. So you can see there, 1,607 feet per second. That's a 44 special plus P plus Elmer Keith load that I was testing. But it actually worked with the wooden stick in there. So
There you go.
here's one of the metal targets. And we had set up some paper targets. We didn't change out the paper targets too much because we really weren't hitting the broadside of the barn. We were mostly throwing lead down range.
What range were you at? Like, what distance?
You know what? I think it was probably about 80 yards max. This is
Really?
probably
That's not very far.
Yeah. I don't think it was quite 100 yards. If I try to gauge it against the DNR range that I shoot at.
Well, it's close quarters distance.
Well, this is Smeggy drawing a straight line with a 17 HMR at about somewhere between 30 and 40 yards. So.
Oh, well, that's pretty short range.
Then he proceeded to shoot the head off the groundhog, so I put the sticker on top of that, and he shot holes in the sticker. So here's a better view. So I mean,
it looks like more than 80 yards to me. It looks to me like at least 100 just looking at it.
Maybe it's 100, but I don't. I'd
You
say,
guys need a laser rangefinder.
You know, we were just out shooting. I don't know. We what we did was we set up a tarp over here off to the right. You can't see it, and everybody ended up shooting out in the open, so hardly any brass landed on the tarp. So we were going around policing up brass all day, and that's before we shot holes in it. So this is we just put one of the targets. So right here's a metal gong. There was a metal gong here. None of us could see it, so we just put target up against it. So. And here's an example of stuff we had laying all over the table while we were shooting, just tons of guns.
Silver Bear ammo.
Is that a Walther P22 with the compensator at the end of it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's Dusty's varmint gun. He carries that in the tractor cab with him while he's out plowing the fields and whatnot.
Is that a TT33 as well?
M57, so it's a TT clone, yes.
Okay.
And then there's Dusty's car right there. And there's my M9. And this is Ohio 45's bandolier. He busted out the 12 gauge. And this is my P64, which is a small Polish pistol. It's a Milsurp. It shoots 9x18 Makarov, but it functions like a PPK. So it's more or less a Polish PPK chambered in 9x18. And I thought Dusty might like that because of the car. And he says he likes to have the smaller guns. He can grip the smaller grips. This thing's just way too small for me. He didn't like it. Ohio 45 pointed out that this thing's got slide bite, and it does. I think it's one of the things that makes it uncomfortable. And then here's Smeggy's CZ, I believe, right here. And everybody loved that. That was a really nice gun. He's got the night sights on his. I'd never shot a CZ before. That was pretty awesome. Ohio 45 brought his Colt 1911. I've shot a Para. I've shot a Llama, a Yama, however you want to say it, and a Ruger. I've never shot a Colt, and that thing was really, really nice. Here's some more pictures, more guns. Let's see here. Same. Yeah, here's our vain attempt to catch brass on a drop cloth for painting that didn't work. Here's the bag that G-Web said it's a free NRA bag that Smeggy used to pack some of his ammo, and G-Web said, I bet the strap will break on that cheap thing. By the end of the day, the strap broke on the bag. So
the black one or the olive drab?
Let's see if it'll go back. The olive drab. So G-Webs was, when Smeggy was packing up his stuff, he was online. He was in a lobby, and he was talking about. He's like, I'll just use these free NRA bags. And G-Webs was like, I bet the strap will break on that thing.
I got the black one. I got that same exact black one, but I don't have the olive drab. I did order a bag from the NRA. I ordered that leather one that they're selling on the website. The Rio Bravo. No wait, it was the Rio something bag. It wasn't the Rio Bravo bag. It was the Rio. Maybe it was a Rio Bravo bag. It's a really nice leather satchel. I couldn't believe how great it was, and it was a reasonable price. So, but anyway, sorry. Do you have any more pictures, or?
That's it. That's all I got.
That's it.
So, yeah.
I just want to say one last thing about that show series that ended, the Turn. I have like the Twitter feed of it. On last week's episode, like the best part was it was like no words. It was basically, they finally Washington goes down to Yorktown, right? And they have pictures of them. I'm going to try and screen share it from their Tumblr account. But they had basically, there's this one scene where George Washington is looking through his, telescope eyepiece ocular at the British headquarters in Yorktown, and they're firing cannon shots and stuff, and then finally one of the British guys waves the white flag over Yorktown, and without saying anything, the actor playing George Washington, he just smiles from ear to ear, and because George Washington's character through the entire 4-year series of that show, he was always frustrated. He almost never won a battle, unless you count crossing the Delaware and retreating a victory. I mean, and when they finally won at Yorktown, that was the first time in the whole series that he smiled. It was just awesome, and it was like a silent movie because there weren't any words. It was just George Washington smiling. Communicated everything. In just one scene. So I'm gonna screen share this page on Tumblr for that series. But let's see. This is the scene where he pays his spy. The character on the left is his chief spy, and here. George Washington is talking about the lesson that he learned with Benedict Arnold. Says, it was a very hard lesson, but I have learned well. A failure to settle accounts can turn friend to foe, whereas the payment of a debt is freedom felt by all.
HVS, I'm not seeing your thing up front here.
You're not seeing this at all?
Am I still presenting? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's me. Yeah, it's my bad.
I'm typing over in the chat, so I'm not looking.
Stop presenting Squib and okay. Okay, now you can see it?
It's showing on your profile, but I think you got to specifically click on your picture to see it.
Okay, let me hit myself and present to everyone for a minute here.
Okay, you're good. You're good. You're trying to show us the GIFs, right?
Yeah, it's basically the Tumblr account for this show, which the series ended Sunday or Saturday, I think. And so basically, this is George Washington. Basically, his chief spy is played by this actor on the left here. And this is right after the war ends, and he's won the war, and they have a dinner in his chief spy's honor, but the spy has to get up in the middle of a toast to him and say, I need my back paid like now because I have to plant cabbages right away, because he's a farmer. And so they start talking. So everybody else leaves the room, and he starts talking about cabbages, and Washington said he tried to plant cabbages, and Mount Vernon, and it didn't work because of the water with the substrata of the soil. And his spy says, no, well, my problem is maggots, but I know that I learned that if you plant your cabbages in fall, then you won't have a problem with maggots. So I'd like to do that. And that's why I need my back pay and all my expenses that while I was spying for you covered, so I can, get everything I need. And so George Washington asked him, well, where did you hear that about, planting in fall to prevent maggots in your cabbages? He said, oh, Rob Rogers, who basically was like the colonel of the Queen's Rangers, who was basically like, the most vindictive, no quarter British military force. And so they both knew the same guy. And so he just wrote him a check with his own money, basically, because he basically said, I can't wait for Congress, So anyway, but this was a great series, I thought.
So was it historical, or was it more?
Well, look at these costumes in the period pieces. Yeah, a lot of this was historically factual. They went to a great deal of trouble, and I really like this whole series myself because I like period pieces. I'm just a film nut, and I like this stuff.
So was it kind of like a documentary style, or?
Well, no, you had characters that took years to develop. Of all the different spy networks that were involved. Basically, it was the Culper Spy Network. Let's see, Washington Spies.
So this was like an ongoing series that's been on for quite a while now then, right?
Washington's, spies. Gosh, I got so many.
For about 4 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, you can probably see it all on, if you have cable with entertainment on demand or something, you go back and watch the whole series. But these are all the actors, and I'm trying to get to them. There's a shot with all of them in character. These are the two chief spies for Washington in New York. Basically, it was a ring in New York that gave Washington information on British troop movements. That's them off the set. And I really like this a lot. So this was a tavern where one of the spies worked at. It was a set: coffee, tea, pie, and cake, cigars, mead, and pastries. This was a great show. I liked all the costume work. It was just awesome. And they had a CGI scene where all the French ships came in and blasted the hell out of the British fleet in Yorktown here. And there was Benedict Arnold was in this series. There's Major Talmadge and Abraham Woodhull and Caleb Brewster, Anna Strong. That is Rochambeau, the commander of the French forces. And there's
they tried their hardest to make it period correct more over than just being an entertainment film, right?
Yeah, and these were real spies. I mean, the Culper Ring was a real thing. These, I don't know if his name was Abraham Woodhull in real life, but from left to right, that's Abraham Woodhull's wife. On the left, that's Major Benjamin Talmadge character. Next to her in the blue uniform, and holding the child is Caleb Brewster's character, and then Abraham Woodhull was Culper Sr., the head Washington's chief spy in New York, and he risked his life so many times. His character did in the movie, and that's Anna Strong, who was like another spy who was basically in charge of signals and getting the information from Culper to Washington, and it was really interesting, this whole series, and I liked it. But this guy,
what's interesting?
What?
I traveled through all those sites today.
You did?
Yeah, I'm in Virginia right now.
Oh.
I was in Delaware. I was in New Jersey. I was in Maryland. So yeah, I'm basically in the area where the 13 original colonies are at, and I'm in Virginia right now. I'm a little bit between Winchester and Roanoke, Virginia. Yes, sir.
And this character on the left, well, boy, did you get any pictures from any revolutionary sites when you were there?
No, I'm just basically out here because look at my screen.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to. Let me get back to the chat so I can see your screen.
Let me look at the.
Wait, I just gonna say really quick. The guy on the left there plays Colonel Simcoe, like the most vindictive. He became charge of the.
He looks really familiar. What was he in? I've seen him somewhere else.
He was really incredible at playing a vindictive British officer that made you dislike him and want him dead on sight. You know? So okay, I'm seeing that you're Marmar, that you're in a truck stop and you got your sandwich. I suppose you're eating it, right?
I already ate it like a whole.
Eat fresh, man. Eat fresh.
Yeah, eat fresh.
So you're in Virginia right now. What city?
I'm in. I don't know what little city I'm in, but I'm between Winchester and Roanoke. I can get out my Google right now, and I'll tell you exactly where I'm at.
No.
First, you tell me what kind of sandwich you ate.
Oh God.
It was a Philly. Don't tell her. It was a
in the
Philly.
food channels as usual.
As usual. When have we ever talked about food?
Pretty much every show or lobby on gun channels turns into food channels
All
at
right.
some point.
I'm right outside. I'm right outside of Harrisonburg,
Didn't G-Webs actually have like
Virginia. Actually, I'm not that far away from Charlottesville.
Okay. Well,
Be
I'm
careful.
not too familiar with the map, so. But anyway, I just want to say
Yeah, I'm
that.
basic.
Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, I'm just 81. But you go ahead and talk about your Revolutionary War stuff. It sounds quite interesting. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Well, I don't have a whole lot extra to add, except that it was just everybody risked their lives going up against the foremost military power on the planet at the time. And it was just amazing that America won Britain and beat Britain. And, obviously the French need, especially because during the whole war, the army was never paid. The Congress never authorized the funding for it. So, which was a big problem, but I'm trying to find the part where Washington has his ocular out and is looking at.
So you're saying the majority of the people that fought the Revolutionary War were unpaid volunteers?
Yeah, and there was at one point
They were militia.
Even the regulars. Nobody got paid because Congress never authorized any money, and there was a revolt at one point. And how Washington had to deal with it was he had the people that were in the revolt. He sentenced like, I don't know, 12 of them to the death by firing squad, and he had the comrades who basically they were ready to march on Congress and demand their money, and he basically had one half of the mutineers shoot the other half, at a firing squad, and he made them like basically this is a true story, and they portrayed it in the show. He made them like shoot them at point blank range. It was a firing squad, and they had lined up the condemned mutineers to death. But they're all up against the post. But they had, since he wanted to make a point. He ordered that the people who were the firing squad, which were also mutineers, to shoot them at about a range of 1 foot, away. He kept saying, closer, move closer. And they were like 1 foot away. And when you do that with black powder, basically they're, they catch on fire, and so it was just,
It's weird though, because like, I know there's like a lot of historical documents for people like that. And, I know there were a couple things that I've seen. It's like General Washington signed off on like purchase orders for weapons and stuff of that nature. So like, who was funding them? Who was putting food on their plates? Like, how are they functioning if they were just volunteers?
It barely functioned at a lot of times. It barely functioned. I mean, the commander, they had French money, they had help from the France. The commander of the armies in Virginia was the major general of the army in the South was Marquis de Lafayette, because he had money. And Washington trusted him.
They also had a lot of private funding from the hierarchy of the colonies that wanted to break away, so they were giving their own private money a lot too. Obviously not for the soldiers, but for the war itself.
Yeah, but so it was a problem getting everybody fed, and when Washington first showed up, I mean, and took command of the army, he was shocked. He just stood in disbelief because there was enough powder and ammunition that everybody in the army could fire like 3 shots and that's it. And he was supposed to fight a war, and every soldier could only fire. They only had enough, powder for everybody could fire 3 shots.
We certainly don't have that kind of problem now.
Yeah, we have lots of other problems, but not that one.
Civilians got enough guns in their own private collections to arm a few armies.
Well, yeah, hopefully. America is locked and loaded. I mean, not just the military. The military is locked and loaded, but so is a good part of America.
Part of America will never have an issue of if we ever needed a local militia, that would not be a problem. They'd be well armed.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be on the chat with me anymore.
Why is that?
Because of my association.
Oh, with that Oklahoma guy? I mean, come on, man.
that Jerry Drake Barnell that tried to blow up a bank in Oklahoma City Saturday. He had contacted me on Facebook. He was a part of one of the Facebook predator groups I was a part of, and he contacted me.
Well,
all on the list, just so you know.
I'm sure I'm on a lot of lists, but the only thing, I don't want to blow up anything, except, Trump does it, the president does it to North Korea, so.
Why would somebody try to blow up a bank in Oklahoma? The joke's on him. There's no money there.
There's no...
He's schizophrenic, first of all. Secondly, looking at 2 separate pictures of him, I can almost guarantee you that he's on meth. You just know that look. Believe me, I know, because I've had somebody that I love dearly that ended up on that stuff. So you just kind of look at some people and you just know. And he has those changes in his face like that, where it kind of draws in the cheeks and everything. And so, in schizophrenic combined with meth, which makes people paranoid anyways, that is not a good combination. So.
Well, I like being on your. I specifically want to be on your next Thursday show because I really looking forward to having Oklahoma Prepper go over, because he's an EMT, and I want him to go over how to deal with gunshot wounds. I'll just show everybody some stuff. I got Amazon shipment today. I got some stuff. I got my chest seal. I got 2 packs. Each of them have an entry and an exit. And he was going to do a show last week, but
Present yourself.
what's that?
Present yourself.
Oh, I need to present myself. You can't just
there
see
you
this.
go.
All right.
Now,
Well,
I present. Yeah, that's what I have.
yeah, and so basically, Oklahoma Prepper is an EMT, and he's actually dealt with
Gunshot wounds.
gunshot wounds, and so I wanted to hear it from him. And basically, I got some Amazon stuff for my medical kit today: a North American Rescue Tourniquet, cat combat application tourniquet, and I got my
one-handed tourniquet that you can put on yourself.
yeah, and I got this little
Pulse oximeter. Yeah.
oximeter, and basically put it on your finger, and it tells you your pulse and oxygen level of your blood.
It's kind of cool how technology is like that. I've used one of those before. It's got like a little laser, and then the little laser can like shoot a little laser through your finger after it clamps on there, and it just tells you everything. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, what it does is it not only reads your pulse, but it reads the oxygen level, like Oklahoma Prepper said, by bouncing off little particles in your blood. The only problem is if you suspect, like the Oklahoma Prepper said, if you suspect that it's a carbon dioxide or
Monoxide.
monoxide poisoning, you will not get an accurate reading because carbon monoxide in the blood actually has those particles that the laser will bounce off of.
Yeah.
And so it will give a false reading of how much oxygen is in your blood.
If you've been in a hospital, you probably have seen those little things that they measure your pulse and your oxygen rate with your fingers. I know that's where I first saw them, and it was like $17 off Amazon. So
they're very inexpensive.
They work on.
Every household should have them, especially if you're into preparedness. But also, like if you have somebody that has respiratory issues, that deal with asthma or other respiratory issues, it's a good way to get a good reading off of those people so that you know. Anytime it drops below 93, whenever I worked in the nursing home, the doctors said that they wanted, or the respiratory therapists told us that we should put them on oxygen if their oxygen drops below 93. So.
Yeah, and so Thursday there's going to be another Prepper Powwow on Oiley's channel, and hopefully Oklahoma Prepper. He couldn't do it last week because of tornadoes, and so hopefully he'll be on this week, and he can cover how to treat a gunshot wound.
Yeah, I think the weather's supposed to be fine this week, so provided he's not out fighting a fire or something, we should be able to talk about that Thursday. He'll finish up that conversation from the week before last. So look forward to seeing him finish that up and seeing what all he has to add.
Yeah, so whatever some idiot did in Oklahoma with a bank has, nothing to do with me being on your show.
I was just joking with him. No, but he did contact me, and a couple of things that he said were a little bit sketchy, but I never would have foresaw him do anything like this by his comments, or the FBI would have heard from me. But yeah, it's sad. It's sad for his family. His wife knew that he was having like these paranoid thoughts, and then he dealt with mental illness, but she didn't know that he would do something like that.
Yeah, once somebody with mental illness fixates on something, it's like good luck stopping them.
Yeah.
Had that experience with neighbors.
Really sad, and I pray for his family. I pray for him because obviously he's not in his right mind. I pray for him and his family, and I'm thankful that his back in like November, so there was no chance of anybody being in any harm through this plan. It was all inert. The detonation was inert, but he did call that number like he was going to set that bomb off that was in that van. So pretty scary. It was just a few blocks from where the Oklahoma City bombing that happened in 1995 happened.
I wanted to screen share this one. This is like some Matt Flintlocks pistols in a little shootout in a couple episodes ago, and I can't imagine fighting with just a one-shot pistol. It's
Oh boy, yeah. But it's all they had, you know.
Yeah, HVS. Do they talk anything about Lexington and Concord in the show?
Well, Lexington and Concord, that was right at the beginning of the war, and I think most of this was concerned about the spying in the middle and the end of the war, because they had to spy on British troop movements, and that was like the first British troop movement, you know, and that was just Paul Revere, you know, and two other people. I know it was the last guy whose name nobody remembers that actually got to Concord and warned everybody, you know. But it was Sterling. His name was Sterling, wasn't it? The guy who made it to Concord?
I forget what his name is exactly, but
he was like on a date. He was on a hot date with his, I guess, what turned out to be his wife in the long run. And Paul Revere didn't make it, and they basically all three of them went off from Lexington to try to get to Concord to warn everybody that the British were coming, and they ran into a British patrol. But this wasn't in the show because, you know, anyway. So they all went in different directions, and I think Dr. Sterling was the only one that made it through. But no, this turn was about.
Paul was drunk or something, wasn't he? Didn't he get stuck? They were supposed to go to Concord, and he couldn't stop drinking, so they didn't end up making it.
No, they ran into a British patrol, and
they got caught. They ran into patrol. They got caught, and then the
well, two of them
guys,
did. Two of them did. One of them didn't. They split
guys
up.
were going into the bar down the street, or however close in proximity, and they were unloading their weapons in the berm as they were going into the bar, and that freaked out the British patrol, and it allowed Paul to escape. But I brought it up because I wanted to tell you that they're trying to Lexington is trying to ban pre-1994 assault weapons. They're trying to ban all possession of them in that town. I just think that's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, Lexington.
You know what's funny? You know what's crazy? Half those old ass flintlock rifles that everyone says is outdated technology are some of the rifles on my list that I would definitely not want to get shot by. Half those things were like 62 caliber, like 75 caliber, or something like that.
Oh, hey, getting shot with a Brown Bess would be, I mean, painful.
Oh yeah, even during the Civil War when they had Manet balls, those things were known for going through your body and shattering your bones. I'd rather get shot by one of those things than a freaking AR-15 any day. Or I'd rather get shot by an AR-15 than a Brown Bess.
Yeah, I think it's just the reason, it would just be a pain in the rear having to reload them and stuff. But yeah, oh my goodness.
But
and clean them.
They shot were crazy.
Yeah, but basically the Brown Besses were basically they had an episode. I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago where they were training the Loyalist militia and with Brown Besses, and they were during the training. They said, just think of it as a spear that also shoots.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because when the British were famous for their bayonet charges, the regulars, so those things were sharp, from what I hear.
And that was before percussion caps and paper cartridges, so it was even like super primitive then.
Yeah. Also another thing that was in the last episode was when they were, or the episode, maybe it was the next to last episode, was that at Yorktown, the British were very, very short on powder. And they reserved the powder for the cannons. And the first assault on like the bulwarks at Yorktown were repelled by, they called them mortars, but to me, they looked more like mines. When they saw the Americans coming, they lit the fuse and just waited for the Americans to march right up to where the mines were, and they called them mortars. But they didn't have enough powder to do that anymore. And as soon as they figured that out, then they just launched an all-out attack because all they had to worry about was the cannons and not, mines or mortars anymore. And part of that, I think, was because they wanted to save all the powder for the cannons because of the French Navy. They wanted to be able to fight off the French Navy. And there was a CGI scene where the French Navy rolls in and blasts the British fleet. But the whole series was about the spies, you know, and their weapons were lies. Those were their weapons. They were constantly lying about everything to everyone. You know?
It seemed like nobody learns from history. Just like how you said the British were stretching out their resources too thin, you know, with their powder, and they were fighting the French and the Americans, you know.
Yeah. Well, they were at Yorktown, and but the weapons that they used at Yorktown was also like what they did was in the movie. I don't know how accurate this is that there was like a rumor in camp that one of the characters that Washington's head of intelligence, Woodhull, was having an affair with Anna Strong, who was like, famous for having affairs with people. And so he wrote a love letter to her saying that, don't worry, we'll have New York, you know, we'll be in New York really soon. And so General Clinton in New York sent a letter to Cornwallis to send all of his reserves to New York because Washington was going to attack New York. And of course, he never attacked New York. So the British just withdrew after they basically quit the war after Cornwallis lost. I'm trying to find that. I swear, there's so many. This Tumblr account is so big for this show. Like 44 pages of Tumblr.
While you're finding that, Jay Watterson 69, stop it. Stop retracting your messages.
What happened?
He keeps retracting his messages over on the YouTube site, being ornery.
Yeah, don't maybe come over there and hit a delete button.
He's not planning to blow up any financial institution or anything, is he?
No.
Yeah,
I hope not.
Not as far as I know. Jay Watterson, if you are, let me know so I can disassociate from you right now, okay?
Yeah, the financial institutions are more in danger of collapsing of their weight of their own debt. You know, nobody needs to blow up anything. Don't worry, I'm not going to Bitcoin. I'm still on the Revolutionary War. It's just that this Tumblr account for this series is so damn big. I'm trying to get to the part where George Washington. Where's Robert Townsend?
If this show is so big and it's about something, you know, that is prominent in our nation, why haven't I heard about it yet?
Do you get AMC? Do you have cable TV?
All right, it's time to go.
I got cable, but I never heard of AMC before.
American Movie Classics? All right.
No, I ain't never heard of that channel before. I don't do none of that Netflix or anything.
All right.
I was a little young kid that was trying to figure out how to drive. Everybody out of my way. I'm moving.
I just these costume uniforms that they're wearing are just looking awesome, but
they look pretty cool actually. That one shot of that guy with the flintlock pistol, his arm stretched out.
Yeah,
that looked pretty cool. I liked his uniform.
The hell! Get the hell out of my way!
You'll long past that photo by now, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Geez, you think they'd have something on here with a picture of George Washington, but
the actor.
Yeah, the actor who's playing George Washington, obviously.
Okay.
George Washington was unavailable to appear as himself. So.
He was at the dentist.
Yeah, jackass, I'm trying to go. Move.
Nobody left. Nobody left.
Nobody left where?
You said George Washington wasn't able to make an appearance, and I said, yeah, he was at the dentist.
Okay.
Come on.
I know there's a recurring theme about the bad jokes that George Washington tells. Like when they there's Rogers.
So
I think one of the bad jokes was, I mean, you've all heard of the Boston Tea Party, right? So, what kind of tea were they drinking in 1776?
I don't know.
They
herbal
weren't
tea.
drinking teas. They were drinking whiskey.
There were those.
Liberty. They were drinking Liberty. Liberty.
Oh my God.
I know that was George. That was George Washington's joke.
That joke makes me want to jump off the roof of a 4-story building.
Hey, boys and girls, I've got to check out. It's been real. I want to plug something. Tactical Tuesday tomorrow, 7:00 Central before hit or miss. So, hey, Hawaii's been great, but I got to get to bed, brother.
Okay, thank you. It's always great to have Marine.
Hey,
Marine
you
to
guys.
the chat.
That's the
Semper
picture.
Fi.
Semper
That's the
Fi.
picture I'm talking about.
This one here with
Yes, sir.
with the flintlock. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
I like his overcoat. I like the whole blue and the shoulder boards and everything. Looks real neat.
Well, yeah, it's they went to a great deal of
Is that a blunderbuss?
I guess so. It looks like a big barrel, some kind of flintlock blunderbuss.
Hey, so let me ask you a question. Do they accurately portray the personalities of the people in the show? Because I'm kind of interested as to what kind of personality George Washington had. If he was like a stupid guy or a happy-go-lucky guy, or
He was constantly fighting. He was frustrated all up until Yorktown. He was frustrated, by just circumstances.
yeah. But what kind of personality did he have? Like, was he a family man or?
Well, he wasn't with his family most of the time. He was in the camp with his army most of the time, and I think the main relationships that were in the series were with Washington and his spy master, Benjamin Talmadge, the actor who played Benjamin Talmadge, and he didn't know who his spies were. He never met his spies until after the war. He never met, nobody, that's why they were successful. Nobody ever found out, nobody ever got caught in New York. They were in New York. New York was under British control. The British Army was everywhere in New York. It was and they were all the spying was in New York, but they took secrecy very seriously, and nobody ever found out any of the spies, because even Washington never met his spies. The only person who knew who his spies were was Benjamin Talmadge, and was later became a congressman. But yeah, the British, the Queen's Rangers were particularly notoriously vindictive against American patriots, but and of course Benedict Arnold was in here as a turncoat, and when Benedict Arnold turned, Washington was like, he didn't know who he could trust anymore, and so he was like he put out a big reward for getting Benedict Arnold, which he never did. But come on, George Washington. They should really have a link to George Washington's stuff. But the Copper Ring, that should be it. Let me go to the Copper Ring.
So it seems like you have a lot of time invested into this TV show. A lot of time and interest.
Well, it's once every Saturday, an hour every Saturday. Big deal. And if you miss a show, you could see it on, you could get the rerun off of if you have cable. But anyway, I don't want to take up too much more time. As soon as I find a picture of George Washington, George Washington's character that I'm looking for, that's him there, but at the end of the war. But to see, he was just very serious through most of the series, he was just dealing with problems and very, frustrated by no money, no supplies, too many British soldiers everywhere. Soldiers never got paid. The French were always telling him what he couldn't do and promising to be there, and they never were.
Sounds like our military under the Obama administration.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. I was just about to say, if Washington was frustrated about a little country back then, think about how frustrated he'd be if he saw a country now. His head would explode.
Yeah.
He would have said, I went through all that trouble back then for this. This is what happened.
Yeah, he's
No,
probably
granted, we're still one of the best countries on the face of the earth, but still, we could be a lot better. There's still room for improvement.
Oh, there's a lot of room for improvement in America, but that's not the thing. It's like it was like America was the first, revolutionary democracy to overthrow, a tyrant, and the most powerful tyrant on the planet at the time, so. That's the whole thing. It was like, well, when people get on gun channels and start, complaining about all the mistakes that America has made in foreign policy, and there's been a ton of them. I mean, a lot of mistakes, but a lot of them were made overthrowing tyrants and not having a good plan for what happened afterwards. Yeah, there's. But I don't blame America for, it's everybody else blames America all the time. And it's just like some people just like to beat up on America for every time, for every mistake, I mean, they're big mistakes, but, it's a big country. We only make big mistakes. We don't make small mistakes. We make gigantic mistakes.
Well, one thing I'll say about that, if I wasn't blessed enough to be born in this great country, and I was born in a place like Cuba or North Korea or China or someplace like that.
Venezuela.
Yeah, I mean, I would want somebody to come and help me. If you're so poor you can't even get food, how are you going to even be able to travel out of that godforsaken land?
They can't, even if they have the money to pay for a passport. They go online, they pay for a passport. Venezuela they can't afford the paper to print the passports. Yeah. The country of Venezuela doesn't have the paper.
Even though the people may want help, they may want something better. They may want a future for their children or freedom or things like that. Because they aren't raised in it, they don't know about it. I mean, granted, today communication's gotten a lot better, but even in countries like North Korea, they censor the internet. They don't know any different. Oh, yeah. So if America come over there to help them, to free them, to help them build a democracy or whatever it was, before we get in there, the government's going to go around and tell the citizens we're invaders, and they're going to turn on us.
Propaganda will be
yes.
crazy.
That's exactly what happened with the Japanese during World War II. The Japanese brainwashed all the civilians and all the islands to think that we're horrible rapists. Idiot,
Yeah, that's why when it was at Okinawa where all the civilians jumped off the cliff.
Yeah, they were all killing themselves because they thought that was a better solution than to get captured by the horrible capitalist pigs.
Yeah, it was on several islands that happened. It was really shocking for the GIs because they'd never seen anything like that before.
So
they had no idea because they didn't have access to free communications like we do. As far as regardless of fake news or whatnot, we do have freedom of the press, and we don't have the censorship that other countries have and things like that. Plus, communication wasn't as good as it is today. That's one of the problems. People have a hard time understanding the perspective of how things were in the past because they think that everybody had it as convenient as we have it today, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, and it's with regard to the free press. That was something in the last episode of Turn. Washington goes to the I'm gonna stop screen sharing that. Washington went to the British, this Loyalist pub, and the guy who owns it is the publishes the Royal Gazette, you know, which, and basically they had headline after headline, you know, of every battle that, you know, Washington lost, and they made fun of his wife. So Washington goes in after the British surrender and leave, or, you know, just quit and leave New York. And he goes into New York, into this guy's tavern who publishes the Royal Gazette, you know, which before the British came in, it was just, you know, like a regular newspaper. But obviously when the British took over, he started publishing pro-British stuff. And so, you know, he goes and confronts him, and he complains about all the stories about, you know, every battle that his army lost, and and also that he had published some scandal stuff about Martha Washington, his wife. And so basically the paper editor, who also owns the tavern, says, you know, the vulgarian who wrote that no longer has been dismissed years ago, and but as the publisher, I offer my humble apologies. And, you know, so then what? But, you know, so the guy's like worried that he's going to be thrown in jail, and so Washington says, "Don't worry, these troops are here to protect your paper. We need people who disagree with us. You know, we need a free press. Otherwise, we'll wind up just like, you know, King George's, you know, country, where, you know, anybody that disagrees with him, paper is shut down. So the troops aren't here to haul you off to jail. The troops are here to protect your press, you know, so you won't be." After he got done complaining about everything that he published, and he said, "They're here to protect you. They're not, nobody's hauling you off to jail. Go on, publish your paper. But you are going to have to change the name of your paper from the Royal Gazette to something else, you know, because the British had just pulled out." So
I get what you're saying about, you know,
so like,
the
yeah,
Revolutionary War and everything, and how transparent it is to do with today, what's going on today. It makes a lot of sense. And I also take what happened in the Civil War, which happened, another 100 years or another 75 years later, and put that in transparency in a lot of days, and that makes a lot of transparency as well.
You know, because what happened in the Civil War was that all this when they wrote the Constitution, you know, they had all those disagreements. And the North and the South were still two very different places. You know, Washington won the war in the South, but they papered over all that stuff in the Constitution, and all that, everything they papered over came boiling back up into the Civil War. You know, but it was all led up to by, you know, all the compromises that were made. But, you know, the South was still the South, and the North was still the North, and they didn't agree about anything, you know. So, you know, what's great about America is that we can disagree with each other and you know, still like each other, and, you know, we're all on the same side, you know.
To a point, it's starting to decay into into, you know, look what happened in Charlottesville. Where two oppositions basically went into violence over each other. Look at Berkeley.
Yeah, they were going there looking for a fight, and whenever you have, you know, people that think Adolf Hitler was great, then you're going to have a problem, you know. So Nazis, nothing ever good happens with Nazis. So,
you know, I don't know all the facts about what happened in there, but you're going to tell me that these guys didn't get what they wanted. They got attention.
Yeah, that's why I really didn't want to talk about it. I didn't really want to talk about it that much. I got plenty of other stuff to talk about. I know Squib's got, you know, had all those pictures from the farm. But
I'm not trying to shift the conversation to that respect. What I want to say is look at all the conflicts that happened in this country, right? And leading up to it, look at the government back when the British were the government here. And we'll look at our government. And look at the oppositions of the Democrats, the Republicans back in the Civil War, and look at it now.
Well, what's
and how much of it's changed? What's that?
What's the point you're trying to make?
What I'm saying is there is some parallel to that. there is some parallel. There's no transparency. You know, the media, like you said in the newspaper, how they were biased and how they would put in, you know, the British, you know, and lie basically in the newspaper to basically muck up and make George Washington not look that good and discredit anything that he has done. Well, look at Trump today, and look at the media today, and look at everybody else that is on the opposition of Trump.
Yeah, but Washington was smart enough to know that you need a free press to call you on your shit. You know, I mean, even if what they're calling him on is just wrong, you know, but you can't muzzle the press. I mean, you could call them fake news, but you know, whatever. And to some extent, I agree with him when he says that. But you know, yeah, he's not going to like shut down CNN. You know, nobody will watch them anymore if they, you know, continue on their path. And you know, it's so. I think that, you know, the important thing to do is stick to the Constitution, that the basic of the country, basic, you know, fundamentals of our country, because it's worth sticking to, you know. And if people want to broadcast that crap about Trump, well, that's America. You know, Americans never have agreed on anything.
Yes, in some certain instance in history, they the things that they thought and believed in, they resulted in violence and fighting each other and dying for it.
Well, yeah, but they also fought for the Constitution, and they fought, you know, in, you know, just drafting that was a fight, you know, drafting the Bill of Rights, and that was a fight, you know, and so there's all kinds of fights. Some of them are political, some of them are, you know, drafting the Constitution, and you know, some of them have broken out into war. But you know, as far as some people who wanted to get attention in Charlottesville for whatever their group was, you know, I don't think they deserve our attention. We have plenty of other problems. There's no lack of problems, you know. If we stop talking about those problems, we'll get to some of the other ones. I generally, you know, I know you can't ignore, you know, Nazis, you know, but I don't know if they're just idiots, or, you know, who the hell believes in Hitler, you know, but whatever. I can't figure that one out. Some things are just, you know, go under the classification of mental illness and complete lack of education or retarded stupidity, you know.
Don't look at it like that. Okay, look at it like this. These guys wouldn't make it as true fascists in the old German regime of the Third Reich. They're using the Nazi party, the swastika, that sort of thing, as a symbol, as a tool to kind of emulate some of the things about how the Nazis believed in the purity of the German race and stuff. They're not really interested in the socialist stuff. Just like the way they use the Confederate battle flag, and they use it to, you know, say that
shock value. Shock value.
Yes, it means slavery, which it doesn't, by the way.
If somebody, I heard on the news before I came on that somebody overturned a statue of Robert Lee or something somewhere.
The park that they were in has a statue of Robert E. Lee. Okay, it's in Virginia, for Pete's sake. Robert E. Lee is a hero to the people of Virginia, not because of some evil things he did, but believe it or not, the people that did secede and did fight for the independence for the South were patriots for their cause. And the same reason the South seceded is almost the same reason we broke away from England. The point being is they changed the name of the park to Emancipation Park to be politically correct, and they left the statue in place. I'm sure they'll rip out the statue. They've moved a bunch of things that are historical monuments. They're trying to wipe away the history, like saying that these people that were in the war on the losing side were bad people. And if they say that, then they say all Americans are bad people.
Don't they realize that, like, you know, what the Nazis did, they didn't overturn statues, they burned books instead. Right. They had big bonfires of books of people who wrote things they didn't like. So that's
So
one problem with Google.
What the neo-Nazis are doing is they're using the swastika and the stars and bars. They're using them in a way that were never intended to be used by the people who used them originally. And I'm not saying Nazis are good people. They're not. I'm just saying that these wussies wouldn't stand up to a day of living in the old Germany and that sort of thing. They're just using the whole purity BS. And they got what they wanted. Okay, they got their attention, they got their shock and awe, and then the president didn't say what the media wanted him to say, so then the media criticized him, and then they can say, see, Trump's on our side, which isn't necessarily true either. But yet people they believe the very first thing they hear. And if the media's coming out saying that, then and all that does is just create a divide. It creates a divide.
Yeah,
I could not vote for a Nazi. I promise you.
I'm not saying
Trump
that, but what I'm saying is now they're going to accuse him of being. They're going to say because he didn't react the way they wanted him to, he must be on their side because they were already saying that he was on their side, and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, I know. It's like you're supposed to feign instant moral outrage at the drop of a hat. It's like
it wouldn't matter how he reacted because no matter how he reacts, they're going to find something wrong with it because they want people to hate him.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that whether or not people like Donald Trump, the job of President of the United States is bigger than the man Donald Trump. It's a lot bigger. And I think he knows that.
There's a lot of responsibility. And, even while Obama was in there, I did not like Obama at all. Didn't vote for him. Don't care for the man or his. But I still prayed for his protection because he was our president. And I still prayed for God to give him guidance. Because he was our president at the time, I prayed for God to turn his heart.
But these neo-Nazis manipulated the media. And the media manipulated the president, and just like what happened in Ferguson. Okay,
exactly.
These neo-Nazis weren't from Charlottesville. They came from other places. The people that were rioting in Ferguson weren't from Ferguson. They came from other places. Back then, the president didn't react strongly enough to stop this stuff, and it went on for weeks, right? So
he fed into it.
He kind of did. So no matter what happens,
where's the National Guard?
Do you really want to bring out the National Guard? I mean, these people.
The state had to do that. The state of Missouri had to call for a National Guard because President Barack Obama didn't do nothing.
But
he didn't bring the feds in or nothing.
That was an ongoing thing. These guys ran like the cowards they were and went back to their home states right after it was over. You weren't going to see them again. But for all we know, they might have held a rally there this time every year. The news doesn't report stuff like that. That's what some of these groups do. They have these regular rallies and marches, and they do it every year, the same time, same place. And I'm not calling any of these guys good guys. They're not good guys. But what I'm saying is they manipulated the media. The media's manipulating the president, and people are forgetting that we had a similar situation under another president's watch not long ago.
I think that about a 2-year-old can manipulate the media, and I think President Trump is just sick of having to deal with this manipulation, and being required to say what the media wants him to say, because they expect him to say something. I like having somebody who shoots from the hip, especially the way the world is today. And so
in some ways I do, but in other ways I don't. I do think that when you're in that office, there's a lot more weight. It's not just about how we feel at the moment. There's a lot more that plays into it, and so I wish he would use more caution on some levels, and some more maturity on some levels. But
yeah, it was like, when in that, I'll go back to one last time to that turn Washington Spies. Washington was laser focused on taking his army and attacking New York while the British army was there. He couldn't understand. And everybody told him mean, the French, all of his advisors, every other person, on the side of, his army was telling him, no, you have to go down south to Yorktown. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. We have to take New York. If we just if we forget about taking New York, we're admitting defeat, and so, and basically everybody, he was yelling and screaming at everybody on his own staff. It's like the wars with his own staff were greater than, he was more angry at them than he was at the British, half of the time, but then he finally, when he finally got the intelligence from his spy, that convinced him to go south and fight at Yorktown. And it was like, because he was trying to get the French to help him attack New York, and they were like, how about if we just go south and fight in Virginia instead? And he was like, no, I want to attack New York. And it was just
the French that burned our capital down, though.
Excuse me?
Didn't the French burn our capital down at one
No,
point?
that was the British in War of 1812. And Tony Blair apologized for that last time he visited at a state dinner. I'm sorry we burned down the White House. I remember that. I wanted to formally apologize on behalf of the British Empire for burning down the White House at the state dinner at the White House. But, what was really remarkable was that how after the war was over, the Americans and the British started getting along pretty much again. The fighting was over. Okay, we're pulling out. The war's over. Okay, everybody stopped fighting. It was wonderful, and people could talk. The British could talk to the Americans, and there was respect.
Hey, I think next time he has a chat, we need to play a drinking game. And every time he says, everybody has to take a shot.
Am I saying that too much? How many times did I apologize?
That's been done, Oily. That's been done before.
I mean,
it has, yeah.
I'm gonna switch to totally, dude.
In about the first 3 minutes, you're hammered.
Cowabunga.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna blame the Jack Daniels, man, because I've been drinking the Jack. So I'm gonna. What if I said too many times? Then I'm gonna blame Jack Daniels.
You need to have yourself a drinking game. Replay this tomorrow night, and every time you hear you say,
I don't want to wind up in the emergency room.
I don't want you in the emergency room with alcohol poisoning. Well, maybe just the fifth every time you say,
Is there anything anybody else wants to bring up tonight?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Please.
I forgot to mention a couple guns that we shot on Tuesday at Dusty's Farm. Ohio 45 ACP brought. You're gonna like this.
I would like to join next time I come back there because I also live in Michigan as well.
Well, we haven't planned another shoot, but you're welcome to come on out. If Dusty comes on the show and invites more people, I'm sure that you can get to know him and come out to his place. I don't know when he's going to do another shoot, but Hawaii, you'll like this. Ohio 45 ACP brought a Tavor.
Oh, awesome, man. Let's see it.
I didn't. Awesome.
You didn't take a picture?
I didn't take a picture of it. He also brought
Did your digital camera run out of film?
Yeah. He also brought a Smith & Wesson TRR-8. It's a 357 8-shot revolver. Very smooth. It's double action, single action. And
Performance Center?
Yes, it was a Performance Center model. And Smeggy brought the PMR 30 that he bought off G-Webs, and it looks like a toy gun. It feels like a toy gun. It's all plastic. It's actually really nice for as gimmicky as it is. It's 22 Magnum. You wouldn't think so, but it's got really good sights. It's easy to shoot. It doesn't weigh anything. It has no kick. It's actually somewhat accurate. I was really surprised.
And it really works well?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It literally looked like he was handing a toy gun, over. But
did anybody shoot the Tavor? Is what I want to know.
Yeah. Ohio shot it and Smeggy shot it. So.
All right. Okay.
I'll see if I get the 44 Magnum out and, you know, the Model 29 with 4-inch barrel and see who's brave enough to shoot that.
That's not a problem.
I love that gun, man. Just
I
the
don't
big
blame
old flash of fire coming out the other side of the barrel. It's
Yeah,
actually
hey,
quite
man.
fantastic.
44 Magnum and a Philly cheese sandwich. What more could you want?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also, you're mentioning drinking games and 44 Magnum. So Sean Connery, who's on YouTube, it's Sean Sean Ponnery Pwnery. He did a video last Saturday on how to reload 44 Magnum, and he has done the drinking game, and he did let us know that it doesn't take very long to get pretty bombed. So it has been done, Oily.
I'm a lightweight, but
Whoa. You said someone was playing a drinking game while they were reloading?
No. I wanted to let everybody know he did a video last Saturday for reloading 44 Magnum, but no, way in the past, entirely not with any firearms. No,
Okay.
he did a drinking game where every time Hawaii said he took a shot, and it didn't take him very long to get drunk. So yeah, so Oily, that I was just saying it has been done by somebody in the past just to prove a point, but no, there was no reloading, there were no firearms.
I need to remind somebody at the start. I need to assign somebody to have somebody remind me at the start of every chat not to say
What if I get a bell?
Okay. Whatever, man. Whatever works.
Every time he says like get a rifle or something and just like cock it like obnoxiously loudly every single time he says it.
That goes off is what we need. A gunshot recording, and every time he says we have to make it.
I do the best I can to run these chats.
I'll like yell really loud every time he says
Never believe it's not so. It's magic.
Oh,
Bitcoin. It's about Bitcoin. Is that the Bitcoin song?
All right,
man.
I got a
Boogie?
A disco globe going along in my head there when you started singing that.
Oh, well, you want to dance on camera. That's okay. We still got like 5 more minutes left.
5 more minutes.
You don't want to see that. No.
Okay, so anything else that anybody needs to add to this week's show?
Black powders are getting more popular now. Captain Box.
It's on my list of things to do.
You said it.
It's on my list of things to get one of these days when I have a place where I could just clean it. I have like a gun cleaning station because I know it's just there. I did it again. It's like it takes a long time to clean. Lots of black powder. So if you take 5 guns, damn it, I can't talk without saying So it's like if you take like 3 or 4 guns.
Come on.
It must be the Jack Daniels. I don't know. But if you take a bunch of guns to the range to shoot them all for fun, then it's going to take 2 hours of cleaning time. So
more than that.
Yeah, I know, Dakine.
It's honestly not that bad, and to tell you the truth, if you get a cap and ball, first of all, they're really inexpensive because not a lot of people have interest in them. And on the flip side, you're not going to shoot enough to really waste a lot of money on it. If you get your balls, your caps, your powder, buy everything in bulk, it's not like a Glock where you can throw a 30-something round magazine in there and go through it real quick. If you're going through.
He did it.
Let me just. You have a track record. Okay, that's my first offense. Anyways, so if you have like a revolver or something, you're not going to go through ammunition quickly, and you're not going to want to shoot. Damn.
There's another.
Unless you got speed loaders.
You get my point. You get my point. It's
I'll have
really
to
Yeah, I
go
get
through
your
this
point.
chat and edit out all those you knows, and that'll take me a couple hours.
all I'm saying is that it's really, really economical, and it's not that hard to clean.
Oh,
It
There
just
you go,
takes time.
man.
hot soapy water.
Hey, Jay Watterson 69 over on YouTube says at least he's not saying, don't you know?
Ooh, barking spider.
Is that who says don't? Was
I
that
try to get one point out, and I can't help myself from getting roasted.
Jay Watterson 69 says, don't you know? Don't you know?
gag me with a spoon? All right. I don't know how to end this chat except to say that President Trump is welcome to lock and load on my chat anytime. I'll just PM me. I'll send you a link, and I'll try not to say a lot.
You know?
You know?
You know, that sounds like a good idea, you know?
That would be very awesome.
Yeah, that'd be
I
awesome.
might add.
And
Yeah.
and he's our president.
There it goes
Can't get
again.
more patriotic than that, man. There you go.
Totally.
You know? Don't you know?
You know?
Don't
You know?
You started a shitstorm.
Don't you know?
President Trump, Tri-Com Hawaii Volcano Squad, don't you know?
Don't you know?
Help rescue us from this chat.
You know?
I'm gonna just screen link the Bitcoin price real quick before I sign off. Just to see
Yeah,
where
sure.
we're
Why
at.
not?
Okay, Mr.
Jeepers, it's totally gone berserk. Totally flipping berserk.
It's a riot.
Well, look at this chart, dude. Chart don't lie.
Mm.
What you doing, drunkie? Can't stay on your road?
$4,359.
Oh, crap.
For what?
One Bitcoin. Look
Oh, there
there's
you
the
go.
chart. There's the chart.
That's up like $400 since our last chat.
Here's I'll go look at a 1 hour chart. Here's a 3 hour chart, 12-hour chart. The
Seems
high
like a lot of people in China.
Yeah, this is just crazy. I'm glad I have some Bitcoin, but I'm just mining it. So I have very small amounts. There is on my Steemit account a link to faucet mining and talk about real small amounts of Bitcoin. You can get it for free by clicking on all the sites. Basically, it's a list. With faucet mining, it's just a list of free faucets. And you have to go through and click each one. You can do it like once a week or once a day, depending on the site. And it stores like a millionth of a Bitcoin in like a hot wallet on faucet. And when you get like down to like 5/10,000ths of a Bitcoin, they'll send it to whatever blockchain wallet you want. So, but that will take like a month or two of clicking every site on there. Sorry, I did it again. But so it's you can get free Bitcoin, but it's like an infinitesimally small amounts from the faucets. So if it takes about 10 minutes a day. So, but the price is right; it's free. So it's basically most of the times it'll give you a CAPTCHA challenge when you click claim Bitcoin, claim reward, and it'll give you it'll take you to the web page. You scroll down to the bottom of the page, you hit claim reward, and you have a CAPTCHA challenge where it'll go and give you a picture of there's like
It asks you if it's a robot or not, and then you have to click the pictures of like the street signs or something.
Yeah, street signs or automobiles or shoes or shirts, and you have to. It'll just be a bunch of pictures, and you click on whatever matches the word, and then it'll send the like infinitesimally small amount of Bitcoin to the Faucet King hot wallet in your account, and then after like couple of months, maybe you'll have like 5/100,000ths of a Bitcoin or something like that. Crazy, but whatever it was, I forgot what the minimum threshold for sending out a payment is to your own personal.
Wait, so you get that for free? All you got to do is like click links or something?
Yeah.
Who's giving it away for free?
Well, there's a lot of little websites that like to generate traffic to their page by having a faucet on it, and it doesn't cost them hardly anything. Like I said, every time you click on it, it's like 1/100,000th of a Bitcoin, or something small. And over time, if you click on it, what's good about that site is there's like a list of about 23 or 30 different faucets you can click on, and you just go and it'll take you there. But you have to do the capture challenge on each one, and some are weekly payouts, some are daily, and so it just, if you don't want to buy Bitcoin because you don't want to risk any money, you can get some for free. I don't know how high it's going to go, and it could all crash tomorrow. I'm not a financial genius. More likely, I'm the reverse, but I can read a chart, and it's going up. So I have something else. I did a video on how to mine Bitcoin that's on my channel, but whatever. I'm going to thank all my panelists for showing up, and it was a great chat today. And maybe next week we'll get Donald Trump in the chat.
There you go.
If not, it'll just be me saying no a couple 100,000 times, and and we'll assign somebody to have a drink every time I say it. Does anybody want to volunteer for that?
Not me, says I.
All right.
And I'll just AK-47 you every time.
Okay, so thanks everybody for tuning in and to another edition of Lock and Load, and we'll see y'all next week. God bless these United States and keep her safe.
Good night, all.
Or Thursday, 8 Central.
Please follow the show, Donald Trump.